Well, all right, you guys, welcome back. The Matrix is a strange place, isn't it? So, yesterday we decoded The Pizza Man, in which Trump literally in this movie went after Elmo, played by Bill Maher. And by the way, good job yesterday on sharing the video. You guys shared it almost 200 times, yesterday's video, compared to other live shows that we've done that have only been shared like 50 times. So we had 4 times the sharing on yesterday's Pizza Man Decode. Yet, when you look at the video, despite your sharing efforts, it is still sitting well below average in terms of views. And that shows you the corruption on YouTube. So the fact that they don't want this video out there, that this video is literally sitting at 5,000 views, tells you everything you need to know about the legitimacy of yesterday's decode and how powerful it was. So I've gone ahead and I'm going to start uploading these suppressed, censored videos onto the backup channels. So you might see, those come up in your feed. If you've already seen the video, just don't watch it. Skip past it. But I'm trying to expand the reach on our channel just by using the tools we already have, which is the backup channel, right? But this is crazy, you guys. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, Elmo, Trump, 1991. I'm thinking to myself, there's no possible way. There's absolutely zero chance that there will be some kind of reference, a modern reference here in 2025 between Elmo and Trump. There's just no way. There's no way. There's no way. But then I looked, and that's what I'm going to cover with you today. In a bizarre repeat, an unexplained repeat of the Pizza Man movie, Trump is now coming for Elmo again. You can't make this up, you guys. You literally can't make this up. The Trump administration keeps coming for Elmo, our furry red king of inclusion. So it's this weird, bizarre matrix. Now, I'll explain what this means in a minute, but this is actually happening right now as we speak. Literally, the movie has come full circle. Now, if you didn't see the Pizza Man Decode, you have to watch that. Literally, they depict Trump as a dictator. There's an Iron Dome, Golden Dome. Military parade is mentioned in the movie, and Trump ends up being the final pizza man, the one who ordered the pizza. We all know what that means. Now, what am I on about this whole thing? Well, guess what, you guys? It's been 33 years. 33 years after the Pizza Man movie, Trump is again coming for Elmo. Now remember, in 1991, Trump was 45 years old. It was basically pointing forward to the president number 45. And guess how old Elmo is right now, 33 years later? Elmo is 45 years old. The same age Trump was in the Pizza Man movie, in which he went after Elmo, and Trump is going after Elmo again 33 years later. This is unbelievable. This is what I call completing the circle. And this must be what biblical prophecy was talking about there being nothing new under the sun. It's as if these things repeat. Now, I was in the comment section yesterday, just mind blown with yesterday's show and all the synchronicities. Bill Maher having the same birthday as Epstein. I mean, really? And then Trump basically saying to Bill Maher, who is Epstein, "You're a better trafficker than me, and this is why I came after you." All the way back in 1991. Now, here's the proof. We also have Trump in several pizza commercials over the years, over the decades. Here are some images and screenshots of Trump and all the pizza connections, Pizza Hut, and all this stuff. It's all veiled and coded language. But apparently, Trump and Elmo are in a literal legal battle. Trump has defunded PBS. And so the PBS people are literally trying to say that Trump is defunding Elmo. Now, of course, this is all silly and ridiculous. I'm not a PBS fan because it's all like liberal programming. But we can all agree that this being in the news is significant because it basically comes full circle. Literally, Elmo hits Trump in a lawsuit. This happened. Trump defunded Elmo. So Elmo's basically going out there. Of course, Elmo isn't real, but he's going out there saying, oh, now I don't have a job. So they've anthropomorphized Elmo, basically saying he's jobless because of the budget cuts. I mean, think how silly this is, but think how creepy it is that it's come full circle with the movie Pizza Man. Look, they even mentioned the Ronald Grump parody from Sesame Street. Remember we decoded that? Ronald Grump. So, weird times we're living in. Now, here is the date calculator from the date that that the Pizza Man came out in 1991. That was December 6th. To the date that Trump defunded Elmo. And as you can see, it's 33 years. Not making this up. 400 months, 26 days, 33 years. Wow. Now, let me check in with you guys. See your reaction to all this. But, you know, every day that goes by, my mind is just blown. Yeah, creepy for sure, right? Creepy, creepy. So, okay, let's let this chat catch up. And then we'll get into some headlines today. And because if you've been following the news, you understand that we're led to believe that we are on the brink of all-out war with Iran. And, you know, it's crazy how everybody in the world has allies except Iran, right? They're kind of like all by themselves in the world. And although recently Russia and China have now stepped up and said, you know, basically drawing a line in the sand against America. Let's take a look, you guys. Get into some of these headlines. Xi and Putin present united front over Israel-Iran crisis in a veiled message to Trump. So we're supposed to believe we're on the brink of World War III. Let's read this. China and Russia positioning themselves as voices of reason, calling for the de-escalation of a conflict the United States is contemplating on entering. These are the optics Xi and Vladimir Putin sought to project during a phone call on Thursday as Trump weighs joining Israel and attacking Iran, the fast spiraling conflict between two sworn enemies in the Middle East has presented Beijing and Moscow another opportunity to cast themselves as an alternative to U.S. power. In their call, Putin and Xi strongly condemned Israel's actions, calling them a breach of the UN Charter and other norms of international law. So, here we go, you guys. China and Russia aligning against the U.S., or so we're led to believe. I don't believe any of this. You know, it just so happens, and it's funny to me that Iran just so happened to be next on the list of General Clark's list of countries that they would go after. General Wesley Clark already said all of this in this leaked covert conspiracy to take over the Middle East. Let's read what he said. This is why I don't believe this, because they just got done with Syria, and here we go. Look at all the countries. These are all the countries that we're bombing. Let's read what he said. He said, now remember, Wesley Clark was a 4-star general. He says, after 9/11, the U.S. planned to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off with Iran. So we're at the end, you guys. Not exactly in order, but every single one of these countries is one that we've engaged since he said these words. When did he say these words? Decades ago. He was saying this. So how did he know? Well, because it was the plan. And everything else is just propaganda to get you to buy into it. Wow. So, what else is going on? Now, I want to predicate this discussion with an admission that I'm no expert on Middle East policy, but maybe at this time, what we all need is someone who's not an expert, because the experts seem to just keep muddying the waters. There are no clear lines, right? And then everyone just says, oh, it's too complex to understand. Well, I understand that, but maybe we need more basic eyes to look at this problem. So let's start from the beginning. In this particular war with Iran, Israel was the one who started the fight this time. And I won't say that that's always been the case, but in this case, they started the fight. And what they said is that Iran was days away from a nuclear weapon. All of a sudden, now understand that Israel's been saying this about Iran for about 30 years. 30 years. They've been saying Iran is just days away from a nuclear weapon. Yet, if they had the nuclear weapon, they would have used it by now, right? According to Israel, they would have used it because Iran says they want to wipe us off the face of the map. Okay, so for 30 years, they've been this close. Now, if you've been following the news, Iran has never admitted to even trying to develop a nuclear weapon. Yeah, I bet that might be news to some of you. They've never admitted it. They said that they're only sinking a nuclear power plant, not nuclear weapons. And if they were seeking a nuclear weapon, even if they were, why is that a problem? Well, they're saying because Iran has threatened Israel on several occasions, which they have, to wipe them off the map. But let's hash this out. Let's discuss this. Because let's say Iran did try to wipe Israel off the map with a nuclear weapon. Wouldn't that mutually assure their destruction by the United States and their entire race, the entire country? Wouldn't it be all out nuclear war on Iran if they did that and they'd be annihilated? Why would they do that? Even if they did have a nuclear weapon, why would they mutually assure their destruction? Right? And this is what's called the nuclear threat. Everybody knows what this is because we play these word games all the time. We as the United States, we're constantly talking about mutually assured destruction. And that's the whole reason why these countries, have nuclear weapons, if we are to believe they're real. Some of you don't believe they're real. Now, then we have this plot twist. Trump's own aide, Tulsi Gabbard, says that her intelligence says that there are no nuclear weapons. This is insane, you guys. Vance even defends Gabbard as a critical part of Trump team after president dismissed Iran nuke threat comments. Yes, Tulsi Gabbard says there are no nuclear weapons program in Iran. So she's disagreeing with Trump. And then there was this whole thing where Trump blew her off and said, basically, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But yet, I mean, this is crazy, you guys. This is insane. So Tulsi says there's no nuclear weapons in Iran. Trump says, shut up. We don't care what you say. There are, and I know there are. So who are we supposed to believe with all this? Well, I say, since the waters are muddied, as they say, we should default back to the original discussion. Why would Iran guarantee their total annihilation by launching a nuke at Israel, which probably wouldn't even get through the Iron Dome? I mean, we're led to believe that they're intercepting 99% of everything that's fired at them, right? So what makes us think a nuclear weapon would get through? It wouldn't. So then there's this huge elephant in the room that we need to talk about. and that is how Trump ran on ending all wars and letting countries deal with their own foreign problems. This is what he ran on and he won on as a peacemaker. Now, no one can argue with, him actually pulling us out of a lot of wars during his first term. We all know that that actually happened. But I remember talking about that and I said the reason why he did that was to bring all the soldiers home to now run the police state. Army surplus, military surplus. Trump opened up all of that to come back home and to be used in our police departments. All the veterans came back and are now working as in law enforcement. Right? And then on top of it, they already knew they were going to do COVID. So they couldn't, they never do two things at once, right? They always tie up the loose ends on one thing before they move on to the next thing. So yes, we got pulled out of all foreign conflicts during the first term, but then what did we have to deal with for 3 years, I guess it was? We had to deal with COVID, right? And as soon as COVID was over, then what happened? Then Biden started Ukraine. So they never do two things at once because I don't know, maybe they don't have the resources. I don't know, but we have a huge problem here because Trump vowed to be a peacemaker. But he's doing exactly the opposite. Now, I already knew this was going to be the case because of Trump's ties to Israel and his allegiance to Israel. And now he's literally showing his hand. Now, let's talk about the bunker buster. This is important. Now, they're saying now Trump's threat is, I'm going to assassinate the Shah of Iran, which is just dumb because all that's going to do is create more war, because this guy, I guess, is a religious figure. He's like the Pope to these people. So if you do that, that's not good. That's just going to get us into another 20-year war with the entire Middle East. It's going to be a bloodbath, which Trump keeps talking about how Putin and Ukraine is a bloodbath, but then he doesn't think about the bloodbath that's going to be created by taking this guy out. So the other threat Trump is talking about is this bunker buster, which they don't even know will work. It's never been tested. So can you imagine trying to deploy this thing and then it doesn't work? Now what? America's huge bunker busting bomb is not sure to work in Iran. Massive ordnance penetrator. They have their little acronyms, right? So they can mop up the mess. Massive Ordnance Penetrator, MOP, says it may struggle to wipe out the deepest nuclear facility. I'm not going to read that, but you get the drift. So they're not even sure this is going to work. So we've got what appears to be another full circle weird matrix. We've got essentially Trump acting like Bush now, saying that there's weapons of mass destruction in Iran. The same argument that Bush used. And his own people are denying it. They're like, nope. Tulsi Gabbard's like, nope, there are no weapons of mass destruction there. So there's an update. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover about the conflict, just to get you to understand all sides of this. Now, meanwhile, Trump keeps aggressing on Greenland, dragging them into the line of fire. And I sat and thought about this for a while. I was like, this is crazy. You've got these people living on a giant frozen continent who normally would not be in harm's way of any kind of world conflict. And Trump wants to drag these people into harm's way. Obviously, many of these people would be working at these bases, right? They now become fodder for, so there is no safe place on earth. Like, if America wants to use you as a base, you're now in harm's way. So Trump moves Greenland military installation under U.S. Northern Command in Arctic power shift. He's not going to give up on this. And I feel bad for the people of Greenland. And I say, don't sell out to this. You don't want to be part of all this. I mean, it's tough enough as it is. These people are living in the Arctic. Imagine what life would be like up there. And then now they're getting drug into world geopolitics. It's just so inconsiderate. Now, let's hop off of world politics. And now we're going to talk about a flesh eating bacteria. But I think the real story here about this Texas flesh eating bacteria is not the bacteria at all. It's that scientists now have the bright idea to release a horde of flies that they say are going to eat the flesh eating bacteria, because that's all we need, right? In the world is more flies. Are you kidding me? Now let's read this one. This is important because this could be the shape of things to come, you guys. U.S. plans to open a fly factory in Texas. Wow. As part of a fight against a flesh-eating parasite. That's all we need. U.S. government plans to open what amounts to a fly factory by the end of the year, announcing its intent Wednesday to breed millions of the insects in Texas near the border with Mexico as part of an effort to keep a flesh-eating parasite from infesting American cattle. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said sterile male New World screwworm flies. Wow, New World Order screwworm flies. That's all we need. Bred at the $8.5 million factory would be released into the wild to mate with females and turn into a hybrid locust army that will kill, steal, and destroy all humans on Earth when they replicate out of control and grow to enormous sizes. No, it doesn't say that. Would release into the wild to mate with females and prevent them from laying the eggs in wounds that become flesh-eating larvae. It would be only the second facility for breeding such flies in the Western Hemisphere, joining one in Panama that had largely kept the flies from migrating further north until last year. The fly's appearance in southern Mexico late last year has worried agriculture and cattle industry officials and veterinarians groups. The U.S. last month suspended imports of live cattle. You guys, what's happening here? What is going on? Let's look at these pictures. Oh my gosh. People, they think they have it all figured out. Just releasing stuff into the wild. They have no idea what's going to happen. Now, let me check with you guys. We're going to get into a cancer cluster in Iowa. This is not good. Iowa cancer cluster. I don't know if you heard this in addition to this cancer cluster, because I think the two are kind of related. Apparently, there's a brand new study that came out that said that if you live near a golf course, that the odds of developing Parkinson's increases exponentially. They think it could be from all of the pesticides used to keep the grass green and all of that, the runoff going into the groundwater. And I think that this might tie into it as well. This cancer cluster in Iowa. So if you live in Iowa, this is something to look for. Cancer is just everywhere. This is from The Guardian. Could farming be behind Iowa's unfolding health crisis? This is dated Wednesday, June 18th. 6 months ago, Alex Hammer was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 37. Diane Chambers endured surgery, chemotherapy, and dozens of rounds of radiation to fight aggressive breast cancer. And Janan Hugan spends most days helping care for her 16-year-old grandson, who is still being treated for brain cancer he developed at the age of 7. The three were among a group of about 24 people who came together last week in a small town in central Iowa to share their experiences of cancer. They are part of a new research project investigating potential environmental causes for what the American Cancer Society advocacy arm calls a cancer crisis. For the last few years, Iowa has had the second highest rate of cancer in the nation. And it definitely has to do with the farming out there, in my opinion, which leads you to believe, hey, if this is in our crops and we're eating this stuff, could that be also increasing cancer in people? People in rural communities are getting sick. Cancer is just everywhere, said Carrie Johansson, Senior Director of Policy at Iowa Environmental Cancer. Every person I talk to knows somebody that has recently had a cancer diagnosis. Wow. It's just a constant drumbeat. It's scary. Kentucky, the only state with a higher cancer incidence than Iowa, historically has also ranked first in adult smoking, which is considered to play a major role in the state's high cancer rates. In Iowa, the cause has been less clear. Last year, a state report cited alcohol consumption as a key factor. Higher than average levels of radon, a naturally occurring colorless gas known to cause cancer, is also a concern. But many residents blame the insecticides, herbicides, and other pesticides widely used on farms, as well as the state's persistent problem with high levels of hazardous nitrates that wash off farm fields into the state's water supply. So I'll put a link to this story and the rest of the stories today. But this is not good, you guys. This is not good. And typically, they'll never admit cancer clusters, do they? So the fact that they're even admitting it means that it's even far worse than they're even admitting. Now, federal agents, here's our next story, denied entry to Dodgers Stadium parking lot, sparking new outrage over Trump sweep. So now they're frequenting Dodger Stadium. They're going to places where there's a large, turnout of illegals. And this is crazy, you guys. Now, the problem I have with this are these masks. It looks like terrorists running around, picking up illegals. You guys, this is right out of a bad movie. This looks like ISIS. Unbelievable. Now, of course, they're going to say, oh, we need to protect our identity because they've hyped up the whole drug cartel thing, right? So they're like, oh, if the drug cartel knows who we are, then it puts our lives at risk. Insane. This is America now. We voted for this. Casey, Trump's doing good work rooting out illegals. We need this to take our country back. And if this has to happen at the expense of my privacy, so be it. I'm not doing anything wrong. Meanwhile, back in the Pacific Northwest, law enforcement has just purchased your cell phone data to know if you're speeding. They don't even need to use radar anymore. They don't even need to find you and chase you down or pull you over. They just tap into your cell phone, GPS data, and they say, how did you get from point A to point B without speeding? This is insane, you guys. And if you want to live in a technocratic police state for a little bit of safety against illegals that fines and tickets you for wiping your butt the wrong way, then more power to you. But I'm going to fight this till the bitter end. I will never accept this. Let's read, and then I'll explain to you. I'll try to explain to the layperson who thinks that they're okay with all this. WSP uses cell phone data to predict and prevent dangerous drivers. Notice how they put dangerous drivers. But you could be going 10 miles over the speed limit and you'd be considered a dangerous driver. Washington State Patrol has implemented a new tool that utilizes drivers' phone data. Now listen very, very closely, because this is just the beginning, you guys. The Washington State Patrol has implemented a new tool that utilizes drivers' phone data to limit the rate and frequency of speeding on the state's roadways and thoroughfares. Cell phone data collected in 2023 from more than 1 million cell phone users in Washington helped the state identify habits of dangerous drivers. Let's keep reading. Shelley Baldwin, director of the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, said that the WTSC used state funding to purchase telematic data gathered by Michelin Mobility Intelligence. This is so exciting to be using data that we haven't had access to before. This is predictive as opposed to reflective. Wow. Minority Report is happening now. Let's keep reading. The data revealed when and where drivers had sped, used their brakes, talked on the phone, and texted while on Washington roadways. WSP will utilize the newly acquired data to search for speeders in 4 Washington locations over the next 6 weeks. Wow, so they tell you, right? That's supposed to make you feel better. We want drivers to slow down, pay attention to the road, never drive impaired. I'll put a link to this story. And thanks to the subscriber who emailed this to me just this morning to include it in the show. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about this. The definition of law enforcement is essentially a cross between discretion and manpower. Those are the pretty much the two main components of law enforcement, right? So they have a discretion to enforce what they want, and there's only so many people that can enforce the law, right? Now, this formula used to have natural limits. Because if you think about it, it's a sliding scale, isn't it? Imagine the minimum amount of enforcement, which none of us want, right? We don't want the minimum amount, and we don't want the maximum amount. We don't want the maximum extreme of enforcement. The minimum, let's talk about the minimums and the maximums. The minimums would be that literally zero crime is enforced and lawlessness abounds, right? That would be the minimum. And I don't think anybody wants that. The maximum enforcement on the other side of the scale would be like a police officer literally following every single person around all day. So it's 1-to-1 ratio. In and out of the bathroom, in and out of your car, and in and out of your bedroom. And nobody wants that either. Because that would be an obvious breach of your privacy, right? Well, here's what's happened in 2025. Technology now allows and enables law enforcement to literally peer into the most intimate parts of your life. Your social media posts, your private cell phones, which is what we just discussed in the last story, drones peering into your property and into your windows. And essentially, technology eliminates your private space. We're already here. Now, there's also a sliding scale of privacy, isn't there? And this also applies to law enforcement. In other words, the less privacy that you have, law enforcement becomes that much more effective at honing in on 100% enforcement rate, right? So if we have zero privacy, they will have 100% enforcement. Literally creeping around, waiting for you to make a mistake. They no longer have to patrol because algorithms do all the work. Officers simply show up and ticket you when you commit a crime. Now, there have been many studies done that the average person breaks the law 3 times per day. So you can imagine if there was 100% enforcement through technology and algorithms, you would literally be fined out of existence. You guys, they don't even have to take your property anymore. They'll simply fine you out of existence, place liens on your property when you don't pay your fines, confiscate your property under Trump's civil asset forfeiture. Do you see the conflict of interest here? Trump pushed civil asset forfeiture, and he's bringing about the technocracy, which will enforce that and then basically take people's property under the technocracy with 100% enforcement. And this is why the technocratic law enforcement is modern day slavery. This is why. I just explained it to you. Wow. Look at this. The claim that the average person breaks the law 3 times a day is a common assertion attributed to Harvard University professor Harvey Silverglate. While this claim is widely circulated, it's important to understand it refers to the potential for violations, not necessarily active criminal behavior. Well, yeah, of course. But with 100% enforcement, that's how it's going to go down. Doesn't matter if it's criminal. It's breaking some arbitrary law. Now, I guess the people that were surrounding their homes with Faraday cages were onto something, weren't they? Not to protect them from an EMP necessarily, but to scramble any detection devices coming from drones or through your cell phone or through your home electronics that could end up in you getting a ticket. Now, here's the problem I also have with this. Sometimes they'll announce to us how they're using the technology, but other times they don't. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. In other words, they use covert activities that are sneaky to do dragnets and round people up. Now, I knew we were in trouble back when years ago I started seeing law enforcement using algorithms to scrub through social media posts to find people who had violated phishing laws or other infractions. And at first, I was like, how do they have the time to sit on YouTube or Facebook looking for people who caught a fish? At first, I thought that they were watching all this content like they had somebody in a room. And then I realized, nope, that's not what they were doing. The algorithms were scrubbing the internet, parsing through uploaded videos and content, and sending them to law enforcement. Now, they'll never admit this, but that's the only thing I can think of. You guys, people with hardly any subscribers or hardly any views on something, knock at the door. Oh, that fish you caught, that's illegal. You see how this works? Now, let's talk about law enforcement. I think most people would agree that on the sliding scale of law enforcement, we want reasonable enforcement based on the severity of the crime, right? With a focus on the more serious crimes rather than the trivial ones. And right now, that is not happening. Home robberies, property damage, broken car windows, financial scam fraud. All of this is running rampant in our daily lives with almost zero enforcement. When's the last time you got your car window broken and they found the people that did it and made them pay your insurance premium? When's the last time that happened? When's the last time you got ripped off for $1,000 through some kind of scam and you got your money back? When's the last time someone broke into your house and stole all your stuff and you got your money back and the person went to jail? You see the problem here? Law enforcement is focused on the trivial crimes, like a lapse in your car registration, or speeding 10 miles over the speed limit, or catching a single fish out of season because you didn't know, or watering your lawn on the wrong day. All of those crimes are 100% enforced. Now, when I say 100%, what I mean is that if a police officer comes across that particular infraction, it's almost 100% that they're going to write you a ticket and fine you. And the technocracy police state will and is exponentially placing undue burden on Americans committing trivial crimes. That's where we're at, you guys. It's literally modern slavery. They need to redirect all those efforts for the trivial crimes and get rid of scams. Get rid of people breaking people's car windows. Get rid of home robberies. Get rid of stolen cars. And all the things that we have to deal with. I talked to one of you, and you literally said all three of those things happened to you. And nothing was done. I was like, wow, sounds like that show was made for you. And that's how the Holy Spirit works. I just get on here and talk, you guys, and listen to the Holy Spirit. And almost every time it applies to something one of you is going through, almost exactly. And understand that that message was meant for you on some spiritual level. What we want is law enforcement focused 100% on serious crimes, not trivial ones. Now, I don't even know how we got to this point in history where we've allowed this, where we've allowed cops to pick us off find us out of existence because we were driving down a hill and accidentally went a little bit too fast on a road. Never been in an accident your whole life. Oh, that's a $150 fine. And then yet, at home, you just got your house robbed, your car window broken, and you got scammed out of $1,000 because phone companies can't figure out how to go through spam calls. Do you see the problem here? This is oppression. It's oppression. So I'm back in the chat. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all this. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I want to hear your opinion on this. But this is just how I feel. Now, this isn't to hate on law enforcement. We obviously need them for certain things, but what we have today is something that's not law enforcement. This is a technocracy. They're using technology to encroach on our privacy. What happened to our privacy rights? Our law enforcement is full of military veterans. They have no business on our streets. These are trained killers. You can't put a trained killer on American streets. So, this is where we are, you guys. Again, nothing against the soldiers. You were trained to do that. But I don't believe that you should be in law enforcement. I believe you should have other jobs. And I believe you should be compensated for that. Nice desk job. Something with some therapy so you can relax. You've already done your work. You've done your job. I don't believe in most of these overseas conflicts, but that's not your fault. You signed up. You didn't know what you were signing up for. And that's that. And so I don't have a grudge against you. If you're a veteran, I have respect for you because most people won't even stand up and go fight for something that they thought they believed in. But many of you came back and you're like, wow, that's not what I thought it was going to be. And so you've changed. I have respect for that. But I think all of you can admit that, wow, some of that's going to carry over when you're talking to citizens. And that's not good for us. I mean, look at what's happening now. Militarized police. All that surplus is coming back as being used on our American streets. That's not good. That never used to be a thing 10 years ago. But now it's a thing. And we're seeing it all play out. We now have Predator and Reaper drones flying over American soil. When did that start happening? Oh, we're just observing. Yeah, they're observing your face, doing facial recognition on you, running algorithms. And they're silently and quietly black bagging people and picking them up when they show up to these protests, right? Now, if you committed a crime, you should go to jail. If you throw something at a police officer, you should get in trouble. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is all this is being used to encroach on the rest of us, American freedoms. So that's what I had to say about that. That needed to be talked about. The war needed to be talked about today. So, all right. So what's going on, you guys? I'm in the chat. I'm finally reading the chat. Yes, I forgive them for they know not what they do. Exactly. That's a great scripture, Chief Center, that addresses all this. Okay. Pastors are lost and not seeing this for their flocks. I agree 100%. Big box Christianity has been put to sleep. And they're literally walking us right into this. All right. All right, you guys. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we end the show today? Now, again, I got a couple of re-uploads going up on the backup channel that were not seen by most of you. Well, about half of you didn't see them, despite the fact that they were shared 4 times as many. as times as the other videos. So YouTube's playing games. That's fine, but we have to go around them. So you're going to see a couple of premieres. I think there's one tonight and then one on Saturday night. So I'll hopefully be in the chat on those. And so again, if you already saw them, you don't have to tune in unless you just want to support the backup channel. But yeah, so that's what we're going to start doing. All right, you guys. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. And see you guys next time.